I would just like to review some things I spoke about in one of my previous videos, and that is Wing Chun likes to operate from a strong range of motion. And that's why I said you never want your palms to go beyond the perimeter of your torso. Now, this is going to vary for people depending on, how big you are, male, female, whatever. But you don't want them to go back here if we're facing somebody that's a forward opponent. You always want these in front of your body. No matter what, the palm should never be pulled back here in a chamber. If you're doing this for training, that's another story. But for any kind of application, palms are here. And our strongest range is usually from here to here. This is our strongest range of motion for long-range movement, right? Mid-range is strong. Here, in this range, if I'm trying to push forward, this is actually my weakest range of motion. So in Wing Chun, we learn how to fight two extremes, distance and close. Where's our strong range of motion up close? It's not to go like this, but if there's a force coming at you, as you'll see as the video progresses, this is extremely powerful range of motion up close against the body. In my last video, I talked about closing the armpits, closing the elbows, closing the wrists, and how a lot of concepts are hidden in plain sight in Wing Chun. So, for example, here we can see it represented in the Silam Tao form. If we have an overwhelming force coming at us, it's coming in, I can't stop it, I can slide out of the way, replace the hand, come in. Where else might this be represented in the form? I talked about the crumpled up paper and how when you bring your body, your elbows in front of your body, you become like the crumpled up paper, become a superior condensed force. It's also represented here to the extreme of range. So take a look at this position. In the Luk Din Bum Kwan, my wrist is close to my body. My knuckles are actually touching my waist. Now some people, I know they do it here. There's different variations, but right here, the way that I was taught in our family system, okay, this is close to the body. So it's like you're crumpling up paper again. You're condensing your structure to be able to wield an extremely heavy weapon and send energy at the very, very tip of that weapon. So in Wing Chun, we learn the two extremes. The extreme long arm kung fu, the extreme short arm kung fu, the extreme strength, the extreme softness. So we learn how to play both ranges and modulate these ranges, and we do so with our stance. We learn how to move in conjunction with the stance, and we learn how to move to separate the two and modulate the two with the 6 directions that I spoke about. I would like to share what I feel is one of the biggest mistakes a lot of martial arts make, and I made it too, and I think we all kind of do in the beginning, and that's this. I'm going to show you from the side. This is what a lot of people do. We overreach. We overreach in almost all our techniques. You'll see a lot of people doing Wing Chun, and their shoulders girdle is forward. So what are the motions of the shoulder? Up and then down. Protracted and then retracted. And I'm not including a roll, because a roll is not something you would do unless you got into an arm lock and then you wanted to roll back out of it. But we overreach in martial arts all the time. Why do we overreach, and what does that cause? Well, we overreach because when we were toddlers, we were always reaching for stuff all the time. Children see things, the first thing they want to do is reach. And what do adults do? Oh, you can't have that. So what do? They reach further. you get into this habit, you become hardwired to want to reach or overreach for something. And that is a bad habit that you have to work out of. So when you're playing your form, get into the habit of not letting your shoulder go out. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't activate the shoulders while we're fighting or doing Kung Fu. There are specific times when you want to activate your shoulders, and there are times when you don't want to activate your shoulders. So what happens when you don't activate your shoulders, you're going to find that you need to be much closer to your opponent. Everybody fights so far away. They do chi sao far away. Bring your shoulders in. Everyone brings their shoulders in. All of a sudden, we're a hell of a lot closer. And so if I punch with my shoulder in, and at the end of the punch, I want to extend, because each joint in the body is like its own little motor. You learn how to use each joint like a motor at a certain point. You put it all together, and then you use this hydraulic energy that drives everything. So it's a combination of forces. Then you're going to find you have a big distance from where the punch will contact the opponent to where the punch can go past the opponent and really send the person backwards. So when you're playing your forms, I don't care what system it is, be very, very cognizant and aware to not overreach. And what you might have to do is, when you're playing your form, is actually kind of intentionally pull your shoulder back a little bit. If you find that you can't stop from doing this, then you have to play very, very slow and realize that I might actually have to retract my shoulder and see what happens, right? Another mistake a lot of people make is raise their shoulders. You see this in chi sao all the time. As soon as the tension comes in, oh, here go the shoulders. Even when you do the ban sao, the shoulders go. The shoulders should never unlock on a ban sao. If you're doing a ban sao like this, it's closer to like almost like a ward off, where this is relaxed. It's not this. And if you're doing this, you're definitely going to tear a rotator cuff if you're under pressure. So be mindful about the direction of your shoulder girdle, right? When you go to the gym, there are exercises that you can do other than just a shrug. Everybody knows the shrug, but you can sit in a rowing machine and you're sitting. And you could do straight arm, right? Retractions, or if you're in a Smith machine where you're laying down and you have the bar, you can go up, and then maybe I'm laying down, you can go protraction, right? So you can even work these as an isolated movement as well.